200th episode of the Weekly podcast. I'm your host today, Joanne O'Dwyer, previous guest on this show, going right back to the beginning of the podcast. Back in 2020, I think it was, when I was on the first time. I just set up private practice. So,
had you?
Must have been, 2020, so 3 years ago anyway.
So what are we saying about episode 20 odd? No, later.
50 something.
Oh, was it?
It was, yeah.
I was early that.
Yeah, it was one of the first. And I am your host today for the second time. I'm not going to lie. This is take two. And Derek has never done this before, but he's doing it for me because he's such a good friend. It was like he couldn't be dealing with it.
No.
I was mortified. It was really bad. I think it's really important to say, though, obviously, because this is a mental health podcast, that I did freak out, and I do have an issue with being center of attention. I may be a therapist, but I'm also human, and I don't really like being exposed on this scale. So it was new territory for me, like out of my comfort zone. But I wanted to do it because obviously I was so thankful to be asked to. I'm a super fan of this podcast. Obviously, I've been supporting it since I was on episode 50, whatever it was. So 3 years or so, I've been following you every week and supporting you along the way. So I was delighted to be asked to do it. But then when I did it, I fucked it up. And then I was like, oh shit, you to do it again. I really wanted to do it again because I just wanted to do justice, I suppose.
Well, but the thing is, like, it was more the visuals, so the camera and the stuff like that.
It was, because I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
I forgot. See, I always listened to the podcast.
Yeah, and when you were here the first time to record for your episode, there was no... Where were you? No, you were on Zoom, sorry.
I was on Zoom.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think.
Yeah.
It was just, like Zoom is Zoom, isn't it? You're looking at your face anyway, you kind of get used to it. But I just forgot about this crap over here. Like, so.
That's understandable.
Yeah, so I totally freaked out, and very kindly asked Eric, would he mind doing it again? And he said yes. So yay! I'm annoying him for another 2 hours or so on Saturday evening. But
look,
it'll be worth it.
It will be worth it, and there's no way that I would allow someone to go away from for a recording feeling bad and then releasing it knowing someone felt bad. It's just it's not like, and you're saying in the grand scheme of the podcast and talking about mental health, I'm not going to like make someone feel down in the dumps about something, especially because I know it was important to you because you've listened for so long and we've become friends through it. So it's time. It's that kind of the relationship. So I wanted it to be so you could come away going, oh, I actually enjoyed that experience, and not for it to
exactly
be,
yeah.
But
and I also had questions to ask you. I had prepared, but I just went blank.
But we talked for an hour and 40 minutes.
We did. But what did we talk?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Like literally, like an hour and 20 minutes of what?
I have no idea.
Obviously, it's a complete dissociation, like completely from my point. I have no idea.
I remember bits, but I remember like.
We talked about music.
Oh, we definitely talked and art. And I remember it was like, obviously it moved past so quickly. We didn't realize it was that length of time.
Yeah, which is cool. But like there was no content. We didn't actually talk about anything.
Is there ever any content?
There's always content. Loads of content.
Well, listen, before we go into the bit, we have to, because the people who are watching YouTube will see.
Yes.
We've got
Joanne. Champagne.
We've got champagne. We'll clink. It's not going to. Plastic glasses.
Oh,
cool. No, sorry.
Plastic. They're
are they
glass.
Okay.
Fancy.
Yes, non-alcoholic. No alcohol champagne, courtesy of Joanne.
200 episodes.
I thought you were going to say €200.
It was tenner.
That's all right. It's all the one. There's no alcohol in it.
Fanciest of the
ones. Was it?
There you go. There was like €3 and stuff. And I was like, I'll go for the 10.
That's all right. It's nice though.
It's nice. Yeah. Like fizzy apple juice.
I feel bad. Like if someone brings you something, whether it's food or drink, and you taste it and it's bad, and then you have to pretend
that you like it.
Yeah.
You're not doing that, are you?
No, I'm not. That's what I mean. I'm not good enough actor to pretend that it's nice.
Neither.
You know what I mean? So
it'd be given away straight away. Like yeah, totally.
So what would you
But
I interrupted your flow there. I feel like
no, it's all good. Just about 154 guests or so. I was trying to figure out how many. So it's quite a lot of people that you've been talking to for a long time. Fair play to you.
Thank you very much.
an awful lot of content in terms of like, I suppose, you know, that you have to be reading and, you know, information that you have to be gathering about each guest every single week, which is incredible. For me, I have a couple of guest highlights because I knew a couple of the guests.
Yeah.
So like 18 Barry for me was class.
Yes, she was excellent.
Because she was actually my tutor in college. So it was cool to hear her on, and obviously talking about art and beautifully, and she's incredibly political and very interesting human being. Real feminist, like, which is super cool. And then I made some friends through it as well, just from local like people who were on as well, like Sinead and hypnobirthing, Nicola Glynn, who was on twice.
She was on twice. Done 3 times.
She's an amazing person as well. She's lovely.
She is amazing. She's because there was a switch in what she was doing, and so the first time she came on, we talked about something completely different than the hypnobirthing. And in between, she was on as a guest on the quiz, as were you, on the same episode. The quiz is great, and then
it's good fun.
Nicola got in touch with me then after about the hypnobirthing, and again, I didn't know anything about it. Hypnobirthing, I mean.
Yeah.
So it's going to go. Look, it's challenging in a good way, but it's also a little bit daunting when you don't know anything about something like that.
Of course, you don't know a lot of stuff about the guests.
I don't know anything about anything. No, but you're right though. But even Aideen, someone
you're
like
learning,
Aideen,
right?
I'm learning all the time, and I love that, like, because you know, obviously I like learning about different subjects. But Aideen was like, I was kind of found her before I met her. I mean, very daunting subject because she's so intelligent, knowledgeable, and her art is excellent. And sometimes you have the imposter syndrome.
Of course, you know, I suffer every day.
There you go. And it's
owner of the imposter syndrome, like, but you're only human.
Yeah, and it's difficult to kind of overcome that. But when I think I have overcome it, then Aideen comes on, and I'm like, oh god, like I had my questions lined up, but it's the guests that put me at ease, really. Like sometimes it's like they think that I put them at ease. It's the other way around. For them, that kind of relaxation or the vibe that they put off comes back at me. I can just like take a breath.
Yeah.
And it works both ways. It just kind of works through, even if it's over Zoom.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it is.
Of course, yeah.
But I do.
And when you're interested as well, to see you're so interested in each guest that you have on, they're incredibly interesting and inspirational people, aren't they, for everybody? So
I think so. I think we can take something from everyone, like, because I think, you know, I always worry about that, like, that I'd have a friend that would think, why hasn't he asked me on? And it's never to do with it's never to do with them. Like, it's always to do with, like, obviously I want to learn about people, and I think everybody has a story and something of interest to tell. But at the same time, it's to keep, like, the important thing is for the people who are listening to kind of be interested all the time. And like, I think you're a good example of that, like that you listen to every one of them because you have an interest in people. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like,
absolutely. I love learning. Yeah. I love learning about people.
I think that's, you know, the whole thing. And there's people I haven't asked on, and I probably should have by now, but it's not because of them. As I always have that in my head, as like, are there people wondering? Yeah, because they're not very interesting, you know. That's the first one. I want to see if this picks up, actually, because
I brought my tongue drum today,
Jan, just to show. This is John should be playing it, but it's a mini one, but it's a beautiful sound. Well, I don't know
I wonder will it pick it up. Let's experiment.
I kind of hope it will, but like maybe further away. I'm trying to figure out the podcast.
It's a great echo. It should pick it up.
It should pick it up. We're going to find out anyway. But I just wanted to show that. I'm just going to hold this like I'm holding a pen, because I have to have something in my hands at all times now.
But I suppose the reason that I wanted to kind of re-record to actually highlight, you know, how amazing this podcast is. Like, let's be frank about it. Like, you've 3 years, 157 guests every single week without fail. Not only have you recorded every week, but you've also shared so vulnerably about your own mental health journey in a way that is incredibly difficult to do, and not everybody can do that. And it's inspirational for people who are listening. Obviously, that's the reason that you developed this podcast from, obviously your own experience initially, but it's inspiring other people to feel okay to talk about their own struggles. And there's also your sharing of music, which is beautiful to me as an art therapist and as a arts and health advocate. I believe that art heals, and the expression of art is central to our mental health and well-being. And you advocate for that just by playing the guitar or sharing music that you're listening to, or sharing movies and film, and and sharing it with everybody. Obviously your solo episodes are my personal favorite episodes, because they're just you, and we're getting to hear what the reason that you're doing this, the reason that you are sharing your knowledge and interest with the world and inspiring other people. And I suppose, obviously, I have to ask about how not only how the podcast itself supports your mental health, but how music and how art supports your mental health. Yeah. It's not something that I think you've not really talked about. I know you've shared music as in terms of moods and music and listening and sharing other people's reflections of music. But for you, what is it about music and the arts that support you every day through your mental health struggles?
There's, with music in particular, I think is something that it's how it can lift, or maybe not even just lift, because it doesn't just lift your mood. It can shape your mood as well as lift it. But I think something
it can bring it down too.
It can bring it down. You can. I mean, listen to the Smiths for an hour. Radiohead are another example, and
brilliantly so though.
Oh yeah, and there's a huge amount of beauty in that work too. And this week we're recording. The Beatles released their last song.
Let's talk about the Beatles.
Yes, and what I kind of first time I listened to it, obviously very emotional, thinking about John Lennon writing this in his apartment and all that kind of stuff, and then it going this way and 50 years later and stuff. But we just mentioned this before we started about. There's a moment in the video where they're talking. There's a line, and now and then I miss you, and it cuts from Paul and Ringo today to George and John back, in the 60s and on stage. And obviously the Beatles is another kind of thing for me. It's a bigger entity than a lot of other musicians and artists, and that's fine. We all have those people as well, and that's why it means more. But it's also within that music, within the lyric, within the melody, within the chord structures, you can break it down as much as you want. You can get as nerdy as you want, really. Or you can write a song with 3 chords and sing about skipping along in a field. It doesn't really matter how deep it goes. It can still be something that just lifts your day or your week. Yeah. Or, the idea of if I send a song to you or you send a song to me or whatever it might be, it's all of a sudden it's it just changes the course of the day. And I think if I'm really struggling mentally, whether it's anxiety, which was last week when I was doing a competition in Dublin and I didn't have
let's talk about hydro.
Let's not talk ever about that. But the idea that, you can move away from that with a couple of songs, that's so, and this is not just, obviously the question is about art, and you be able to obviously much better be able to talk about artists and art. But what I kind of figure I have a bit of a grip on is music and films, and films is another one of those things where you can watch yourself back, on the screen. That's amazing. That still amazes me. I don't know if it still happens now, but those films are kind of hidden and lower budget. But if you look at the stuff from the 50s and 40s and stuff, it's just people kind of going about their day and their struggles. And look, they're not talking about mental health specifically, but they're definitely hinting at it in those scripts, And you can, and it changes you, like, and it makes you look at things differently. And like, there's not anything else that can do that. Like, I like exercising, I take medication to help my mental health. There's lots of things that help my mental health. But like, there's nothing like art, I don't think, to change the way you're thinking on a certain day.
Stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
But for you, is it like, so if we were to, because obviously I know you're huge on music and stuff, and you're an art therapist, when you're looking at art, if you go to a museum or something like that.
Looking at art is good for you.
Yeah. And why is it good for you, do you think?
Do I think or do I know?
No, I mean, why is it good for you?
For me personally, it's connection. It's a
Right.
way of communicating. And that's what all of the arts do. They communicate without having to use words. Obviously, I'm really bad at podcasts, so I'm not very good at words, right? But I'm better at music and art and other means, movement. Dance is easier, more natural for me, of communication. So for me, if I connect, whether it's a piece of artwork or something that I'm listening to, a piece of music, I understand it and I feel understood myself in this world. And that's really fucking hard to do in this world because it's incredibly complex, right? And we have so many demands of us every single day, and it's difficult to just be human. So it's those moments of connection where you feel understood in some way. That's what's beautiful about art. And then obviously, in terms of scientifically speaking, we understand that when we are connecting with a piece of artwork, oxytocin is, developed in the system. So on a neurological level, we are literally feeling connected. And that's a really beautiful and powerful thing that we can't always do with words. So it's powerful stuff. And I suppose, it's that, being able to express a piece of ourselves in a way that we can't express in any other way. And then for that to be understood, that's profound stuff.
I'm fascinated by the idea of like an artist, and a lot of them go through a lot of pain and mental health struggles. And the fact that they will give their lives to this art form, whatever art form it is that they're in. And sometimes that's all that's keeping them going. I think of the artist Nick Drake, and I read his biography recently, and just the idea of like, the only thing that kept him alive until he was 26 was music. And
absolutely,
those 3 albums he made, like, and he put himself through hell every day to get up and play the guitar and to try and get a recording going and try and get all this kind of stuff. And that's just one example. There's all sorts of artists out there that have it. And, Tom York, even though he doesn't speak about it that often, had a lot of problems with mental health. And he went through it, and still touring the world and having to go through all the stuff that, imagine having to do that and you had poor mental health. Like, I went to Dublin and my head was wrecked. You went all over America and every, South America, all over so I admire the people who are out there doing it.
But I think it helps them.
And
it makes them feel better, and they understand it in a way that they can't maybe understand their internal world in some way. There's something about the arts that just connect. And therefore, if you're struggling, and you're, I suppose I'm not even sure what I'm trying to say, but I'm just kind of connecting with that idea of, like, for me as an art therapist, like I couldn't be anything else, or I wouldn't be happy in this world. It's that, and your podcast is such a big part of your life right now. It's your art medium, right? It's your creative form. You've put so much time and energy into it. Without that, what would there be? There's something about creative expression that brings meaning to life, and makes life worth living sometimes.
I think that like I've had a struggle with the idea of the podcast being a creative thing.
It's an art. It's a piece of art, Derek.
But this is what my problem is it's I hear the words, but I don't know if they go in that often. And it's the idea of, because I when I separate things like this, it's like, oh, I used to write songs and I used to write short stories, and you know, and they to me are the real art, you know, that I did.
Okay.
But this is just, it's great. Look, I'm not putting the podcast down by saying this. I'm just saying that this is the way I look at it. I'm opening up conversations, which is the class, obviously, but that's, to me, is not art.
Okay.
So it's not, I'm not creating anything. I have created a podcast, I get that, but every week I don't create something. I bring people on who I'm like, fingers crossed, are interesting people. I've been very, very lucky, obviously. But I want to hear from someone like you or Aideen or something about the creative process when you're in it, like, because I'm not in it now. I don't feel I'm in it.
This is your creative process.
But I don't think it's, I think the only creative bit was the first day where I said, right, this is going to be a podcast. That was the creation. I don't think there's been, look, it's not, I'm not putting it down though. This is important, so you don't, because it's going to, no.
This is the thing that you do.
No, I don't. Yeah. There's could be other people listening to this, maybe thinking the same thing. I'm honestly not putting on. If I didn't think that this was worthwhile, there's no way I would have reached 200 episodes. I would have just said, you know.
So why are you doing it?
Because I think those opening those conversations about mental health and about all the other things, I get that. But mental health is always there. We always ask the question about mental health. It doesn't always go on in the conversation. It doesn't come up again every time, but sometimes it does. That's why I'm doing it. It's not because it's like it's not. It doesn't get like the creative juices flowing or anything like that. But I love talking to people about stuff.
Okay.
I just see it as differently, but I can understand what you're saying as well. Like, but I just don't see it as creative.
Wow.
So, wow.
I completely disagree. But okay, yeah.
No, that's okay. But
I just feel like it's just such it's so creative. It is the most creative thing. You're literally every day you're doing something, and you know, preparing for the next guest and gathering information and, you know, taking in arts and then speaking about it and sharing it with the world. I mean, it's the most creative thing.
If you saw my notes and questions for episodes, you wouldn't think they're creative at all. They're very much
Have you looked through your notes now?
I do look. I you know, when I have to read a book because someone's coming on, or watch a film because someone's coming on, like, I love that, because that I know what you mean by that though, because then it's like I have to think outside the box with regards to when I had Dean on there a couple of weeks ago about his film. So I had to think, why did he make this? Or, you know, what's that bit about? Why is that character there? That I know that's a little bit outside the box, and I get that. And it's the same as with books. I have to approach it with a different way of just saying, why did you write the book? What, you know, it has to be more expansive, and I have to try a bit harder. Mm-hmm. But I'm working off them. So it's not like, do you know what I mean? It's
okay.
It's like doing a cover version of a Beatles song. It's not writing the song. It's working off it.
But it's still a piece of art, is it not?
I don't know.
It's a creative expression. It's like singing a cover, of another person's song.
Yeah.
But it's still your cover.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's creative.
But you just don't think it's as creative as or as, you don't think it's the ultimate goal?
Yeah.
Potentially, in terms of creativity for you?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, that'd be it. Because it's, you know, not when you're saying about, I'm not saying like if someone does a cover of a song and it's amazing and it's beautiful, that's a thing. But the creative process was in the writing of the song.
Okay.
So, but that's not this, you know, I'm not taking, and again, that's why I'm not taking away from the podcast. I just don't think it's creative. But maybe you're right in the way you put it, in the fact that it's not my ultimate.
Maybe you want to create something else.
I think I probably do. I think I probably do, but more original.
Interesting. So novel, because you've started a novel.
I finished it. Yeah, it's done.
I want to read that.
No.
and music.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I did music, short stories.
To be in a band at one stage. I think you had mentioned.
I was in bands.
Maybe you just want to be in a band.
Do you know, I wouldn't not be in a band. For a while, I knocked it on the head because I thought there's too much stress, and I'm the one who's just trying to organize all the practicing and stuff. But
it's a lot of work.
But that was when I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
I think if you found 3 or 4 people my age, I think it'd be more copped on, and you wouldn't have to run after people the whole time. So maybe I do want to be in a band. Who knows? Maybe that's.
But you can have many different kinds of creative mediums.
That's
true. The beauty of being alive in the world.
Yeah.
Like I love making art, and I love making music, and I now love making podcasts. I really shouldn't them.
No.
But I'll get better over time.
Listen, if I was doing,
try it, don't you? And you give it a go, and that's what it's all about.
But you're right. My mom's like this as well. If I say I'm crap, and I'm like hypercritical of myself.
Yes.
So I will constantly have a go at myself, and you don't like me doing it.
No, nobody does.
No, well, some people don't care either way, but but like you would definitely be trying to push back and say that's not true. So I won't have you saying you're bad at podcasts because you're not. Like,
well, I actually am.
You're not. It's like how much of it, because
we all have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And it's part of the creative process. I mean, creativity is takes courage, right?
According to Mr. Matisse.
Henry Matisse, visual artist, yeah.
He's the man that did the toilet, wasn't he?
No.
Who was that?
Figures, like he's a painter. What's the toilet you think? Oh, Duchamp.
That's it. Yeah, sorry. My bad. French man.
So funny.
This is the toilet, yeah. Strange. But look, go into modern art and all that.
It's brave though,
Yeah.
Like that's what creativity is. It's bravery, and it's taking risks, otherwise it isn't worth it. So you kind of have to be a bit shit. Obviously, as a therapist, when I'm supporting somebody therapeutically in creating in an environment that is contained, it's not about getting it right. It's about feeling the process and learning from what's happening within the process. But if you're looking to actually achieve something, if you're looking for a goal, an end goal in your mind, and you want to get there, that's a beautiful thing too. That's skill. That's learning. It's it's a beautiful creative adventure as well.
Did we have this before when we mentioned the idea of? I'm sure it was you. I don't know anybody else that might have said it, but and you just reminded me of there, because the idea of trying to be perfect in something like a Caravaggio painting, or trying to be like Pollock, where to him that's perfect. I'm not saying that's not, but to other people will look at that and they'll be like, will kind of turn their nose up at it because it's just looks to them like it's just splashing on a page, whereas Caravaggio's just like the use of light and all this, and everybody thinks it's amazing. I think
it's hyperrealism.
But that kind of thing it's fascinating about art, and that can go into music and film as well.
Can we talk about the screen though?
Oh, we can. Of course we can.
My favorite
painting.
Yeah. Because I always talk about how we create our best work when we're suffering. Often. And I think it's a really interesting concept because, again, it's part of that connection, isn't it? It's part of being understood, or even just understanding yourself in another way. And in that painting, it's really interesting because he's having a panic attack.
Yeah.
That's what that painting is depicting. He was literally walking down the road and he started to freak out and experience a panic attack. And at a time where people didn't really identify panic attacks, but yet everybody related to this image. Everyone was like, oh my God, I know that feeling. And it still lives on to this day. It's such a powerful image to you and to so many people. And it's fascinating because I suppose him as an artist, like he didn't really, he created, Weeping Child and, some other images that were beautiful, but nothing like this image.
Very dark
in terms of, his creative career, I guess. and it's never ending.
Yeah.
You can relate to it forever. It was 1890
Yeah.
or so, 18 something or other.
Yeah.
Before it was post-impressionism, like expressionism.
Mm. Well, and what's weird about it is, when I look at it, I try to think about how else someone could depict mental health, whether it's on a canvas. It's easier to do it in a song because you can literally voice the words, you know, or even in a film where you can show and basically tell how the character is feeling and what's going on with them. But to do it in a painting and to figure out, I think you kind of can figure out what's going on with that painting without being told what's going on with the painting.
That's it.
And I don't know how.
It's beautiful.
It's amazing. And I maybe that's why I like it so much, because it tells so much with kind of a face that's not even, particularly detailed, and they turned it into all sorts of stuff and scream. Yeah. But the whole idea of like, we'll just talk about Hyrox. I'm not going to talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
No, I want to talk about it because
Are you to do it again?
No, absolutely not. But the idea of like that Monk is at the seaside, and he's got the gulls everywhere and the noise and the waves and and that's how I felt.
He's freaking out.
And you walk into something like sensory.
Don't you know that feeling?
I know, yeah. I know, but the sensory overload and just it speaks to me so much, that painting. I've had that moment so many times in shops and on streets and in concerts and everything. All those panic attacks, fortunately, don't really get them that much anymore. But that's in one painting. He does it all, and he does it not just by the face, but by the colors he uses in the background, because it's more than just in the face of the character or him. It's in the background as well. Everything's not quite right. You can make out what it is, but it's not quite right with the colors and the brush strokes and stuff. It's just a work of genius, basically.
It is. It's a beautiful piece of work. Yeah, it really is.
Joanne bought me a notebook with the monk with the screen.
There's another notebook, as the collection. Do you have lots of notebooks?
Yeah, they're all in there.
You obviously do.
There's so many of them. They're in the attic.
There's an attic.
Yeah, it's like a walk-in attic. But it's like, I don't think it could be portrayed or look any better. And when you look at something like outsider art, when you see the art that they've mental health patients have created and have put on, in galleries and put on shows and stuff, and you see what they're making, it's like in amazing amount of talent that you probably would go unnoticed otherwise, because it's easier to kind of push them away. And
Absolutely.
I'm not saying art is it's not a fully snobbish world or anything, but there are places where it can be,
like any creative industry.
Absolutely, yeah. But that when you see the creativity out there, with people who are really, really struggling, like really at their wits' end, really like severe mental health issues, and like you said, maybe that's what's keeping them going, like creating and sharing their work with other people, whether it's in the hospitals that they're in or outside of the hospitals, and the word's getting back, and of how great people think they are, and if that's, I mean, it's pretty intense and pretty amazing to think that is keeping them going.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose therapeutically speaking, the creation itself does all the work. It's about whether you want to share.
Right, yeah.
The image, right? And some people do and some people don't. And I think that's really important to have that choice.
Do you think
a lot of the insider art world would have
taken?
Yeah, they would have, displayed mentally ill patients' artwork without their consent, which was not okay.
No, of course not, no.
And then they would have psychoanalyzed it and told, and written about how this is what it's about, when it might not be. The voice of the person who has created the image is really all that matters. We understand that now, though.
Yeah.
But I
hope it's improved, though. I hope
it doesn't happen so much anymore in terms of outsider art. For example, in institutions like disability organizations, Cope Foundation in Cork that I worked with for a while, they would be very, very inclusive and want to listen to the voice of the artist. And they take that very, very seriously now, which is really important. But I believe that it doesn't matter whether or not you share the artwork, that the creative process itself is where the beauty and the magic is. Do you agree with that?
No, I do agree with it. I think it's not easy sharing something anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think the pressure should be on you to do it. I think you're right. I think that it should be, that should be the moment the moment you have creativity should be that, moment that keeps you doing what you're doing. I mean, it's up to yourself, obviously, if you're able to make that decision that if I want to share it, I'm going to share it, you asked me to put up like one of my own songs.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I did it there today. Yeah. And but it's an old song. It's a little bit easier when the song is older, but
well done for doing that.
Thank you very much. But it is, look, it's easier for me to put up a song covered get Tom Petty to write a song and I'll cover it. Rather than write my own and kind of come out with it and wait for people.
What was that experience like for you?
Well, to be honest, it was all right because I've played the song so many times. I wrote it years and years ago. It's the podcast theme. The lyrics are a bit naff and I'm a bit embarrassed by them. But apart from that, I'm all right with the rest of it, with the chords and stuff. But
what's it about?
That's actually, I don't think that's one, because I've written love songs before and they've been about people. I don't think this one was about someone. I think it's very generic.
Okay.
It's not like, you'll hear, there's some of the lines are very generic, but I think it's called Took Some More, and it's about, the chorus is a bit about, maybe taking a bit more from a friendship, or maybe you feel you've taken a bit more from a friendship than you have. And it's kind of unsettled the friendship in a way. And I don't mean that romantically, it can be any friendship.
Okay.
So the line is, I got greedy and I took some more. So, but did it happen? I don't know.
Okay.
It probably did.
It must have mattered to you, though.
Yeah.
Whatever it was based around, must have meant something at the time for you to feel that you wanted to express that music.
Yeah. I'm not great musically. I think I write better lyrics than I write better music. That's what I'm saying. So it's weird listening to that song or singing that song now because I don't think the lyrics are that good. So maybe I just thought that this was better musically than I was used to.
Okay.
So I needed to just put something to it. And I didn't work hard enough on the lyrics afterwards to kind of finish it off. You can still do it. I mean, there's nothing stopping me from
So it's unfinished?
Well, I'd say so. If I was playing it today and I listened to the lyrics, I was like, I could probably do better than that, So maybe that's...
I think you'll always say that about everything that you do, though. So
well, I might, but is that a bad thing? Do you think if someone is constantly trying to be better at something? No,
I'm the very same, so I can't really.
But is it bad? Do you think? Is it?
Yeah,
it is bad.
Terrible for us.
So just not letting some.
Beings.
Yeah,
it's detrimental to our mental health and well-being, but I mean, it also pushes us forward.
Yeah,
and keeps us striving.
But do we ever get anything finished?
There.
Yeah. Well, this is the.
We'll always be disappointed in ourselves.
But
it's very depressing, really.
But if Edvard Munch was working on Scream and he never what if he never finished it? You know what I mean?
I don't think he did. He did 7 different versions of that painting. I think he was never.
Did he die before it was out? Did he die before it was
No, he was alive.
Oh, he's alive.
Yeah. He was quite successful during his life, but I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that he was satisfied with it.
That's always sad, isn't it? When
probably still hated it.
What's his name? Melville, who wrote Moby Dick. He died with a penny in his pocket or something. That's tragic. Although I read Moby Dick and it was a bit of a slog. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, it's kind of sad when artists aren't recognized until they're dead. Hopefully people can hear that.
But what is important is that we keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
Keep creating, keep expressing.
just keep doing new things as well.
Keep doing it, because that's what makes the world beautiful and
that's
worthwhile.
True. I wish more people thought like that.
Mm-hmm.
We need more beauty.
We do.
You all right, Rick?
Now, back to my questions.
That's the first question answered.
I did want to talk about the Beatles because you love the Beatles.
I do love the Beatles.
Everybody loves the Beatles.
They should.
So, but obviously you've mentioned the new beautiful creation, which is fascinating, really, isn't it? Like how incredible it is that two of them are dead, and they still managed to make this beautiful piece of artwork like that. Is how significant these people are in the world. It's amazing. But who's your favorite Beatle?
Oh my God. Can I have two answers?
No,
because I was going to ask it, right? Can I have my favorite Beatle and then my favorite solo Beatle? Because they're different.
Well, that's fair. That is fair.
That fair? Yeah.
That is fair. That's fine. You can have that. Yeah.
Favorite in the band, George Harrison.
So in the band, George Harrison. Really?
Kind of. I like he was reluctant. Like there's a new biography, The Reluctant Beatle, which I bought. It's in the room, and he was reluctant. He didn't like fame and all that. He was a bit grumpy. I like that. He was obviously hugely talented. If he was in any other band, he'd be the main songwriter.
Yeah.
But when you've Lennon McCartney in front of you, you're only sneaking in some songs now and again. And the ones that he did sneak in were unbelievable. And my favorite outside the band would be John Lennon, I think.
Okay.
Because I think if you listen to his first solo album, he made the very brave decision, and I think anything like this is brave when you're used to it. He used to double track all his vocals because he didn't like his voice.
He didn't like his voice.
He didn't like it at all. And when he wanted to do this, the first solo album, it was Yoko kind of said to him, you should do it with just your own voice. Mm-hmm. And he sang about his mother and about being isolated, and it was about his life up to that point, but all the struggles up to that point of kind of, you could say, mental health as well as all the other things that went on, his mother dying when he was young and that. And like he did this primal scream therapy at the time too.
He did, didn't he?
So when you listen to the song Mother, at the end of it, he's using the screams, which are just like kind of properly harrowing screams, like he's in pain. So I just think from that album alone, to me, is like someone who's gone through, being in the biggest band in the world and all the stuff that goes with it, good and bad. And then all of a sudden, like almost looking back to the stuff that kind of made him and the things that he struggled with. And even doing that, putting yourself out there, but then going against everything you've done with the Beatles, with the double tracked and just stripping it back and leaving your voice out there, which you don't like anyway. He was a flawed man, but we're all flawed. And so George in the Beatles and John outside.
Okay.
That's a good answer.
Great answer.
Thanks.
Yeah. You've talked obviously about your favorite album, your favorite song. You've shared a good bit about that as well. You did have like dude on who was like an expert, wasn't there?
Obviously an expert then.
A guy who, this is terrible.
No, that's all right. You don't have to remember his name. I won't.
I don't know. I can't remember his name. But
what was he?
A Beatles expert?
Oh, well, I had John Lyons on.
John Lyons.
Yeah, he talked about it. He, I was actually just sent a little message to him today about, he put up the Beatles song and he was asking people what they thought of it.
What did he think of it? Did he share?
Well, not yet. I think he kind of says he wants other people to share, and then I guess he's going to chip in. I think a lot of the Beatles fans were a little bit skeptical,
disappointed.
Well, Josh texted me and he said a couple of months ago, he said that this was going to involve AI, and as soon as he said that, I was like, no, I'm not listening to it. I don't want to listen to it.
Yeah.
Not knowing what they were going to do with the AI, and it turns out they did the pretty cool thing with the AI isolating the vocals.
They had to.
They had to do it, yeah. And I think I spoke to a friend of mine yesterday and I sent her the song. She doesn't care about the Beatles, but I was trying to tell everybody.
Yeah, of course. Everyone.
I want to talk to everyone about this. And she was like, well, the lyrics are a bit, pedestrian and all that,
That's
and And look, I can kind of understand that, but
who cares though?
Yeah, who cares? Yeah, it's a Beatles song, and
it's
then
just beautiful.
I sent her the video, and then she kind of said that bow at the end was pretty special. You know, at the end of the video, they bow and then they disappear. So maybe just some people needed the more than just the sounds. They needed the visuals to go along with it to kind of be impacted. I just needed John Lennon's first opening line of it to kind of go, Jesus, yeah. And it's so immediate, it's
and your soul, like,
oh God, and just the the fact that George isn't around, so they decided they use his guitar from 95. It's so sad because when you think of like John Lennon passed away when he was 40, George was 50.
He was 40, 1980.
1980, yeah. George was only in his 50s. They were way before the time.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but people slag Paul McCartney off all the time, but like he's keeping it alive, and I think that's
yes.
And Ringo, nobody can complain about Ringo.
No. Lovely bunch of fellas.
They're lovely.
Can we talk about Peter Gabriel?
Oh, we absolutely can. Yeah, always.
I didn't actually know Peter Gabriel to the extent that after our first airing of this really bad episode, which is better now, I think.
It's better, yeah. We're flowing,
yeah. I actually only knew Peter Gabriel's big hits, like, the Sinead O'Connor and stuff like that. And then you shared like that album with Talk to Me and Digging in the Dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fucking obsessed with Peter Gabriel. Like, I've been bringing it into therapy sessions. That song Love Heals.
Oh yeah, that's
from
beautiful.
the new stuff, the Dark and the Light Side on it. And man, it's doing some beautiful therapeutic work, I have to say.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I think he's still writing stuff like that is amazing. Yeah. I don't think there's anyone still in that at that level of quality music, because it drops off for every artist. It tends to drop off, and then it becomes a greatest hits tour over and over again, which is in a way it's great as well. Don't get me wrong. When I went to Peter Gabriel and he played the hits, I loved it.
Of course you did.
But to hear him still doing new stuff. But it was interesting when I think Digging in the Dirt was on the 41 songs in 41 years.
Number 10.
And did you text me after that about it, or did I text you about it? Because I was trying to figure out was it about therapy?
Oh, it is about therapy.
It's definitely about therapy.
It's just it's about therapy.
Yeah, and it's so. Again, this is it's gonna. Anytime you talk about music and artists and stuff, it goes around in that loop of like that album. Would Come Talk to Me and Digging in the Dirt.
Was he in the shit?
He was in his breakup, a breakup with his wife.
He was suffering.
And this is all like, Come Talk to Me. I told you the story about his daughter wouldn't talk to him because they had separated, him and his partner, their wife had separated, and he was going out with someone else, or he maybe had an affair. I can't really remember. But the idea of his daughter not talking to him was killing him and stuff. But I sent you on the video of him singing with his daughter. Yeah, of course.
Like an absolute baby. I'm obsessed with him. Like, I'm like, why isn't he playing live now? Like,
Well, he was in Dublin. Like,
I'm sure I didn't know.
I know you didn't know about it then. I know. And we gave it a miss this time, me and my mum, because I can't remember why actually. But
do you go with your mum usually?
Yeah, I saw.
Your mum loves.
She loves him. Yeah,
Gabriel,
she saw him on that tour.
Oh right,
that tour '93.
The Italy, no.
Yeah, that tour. Yeah, and she saw him in Dublin in the Point. Sinead O'Connor was on stage for that one, but
Sinead O'Connor was there and everything.
Yeah,
oh my god!
And I just. Something like Digging in the Dirt, it's so dark, like it's so
but it's groovy as well.
Oh, it's great,
it's not
groove,
even just
no.
Like, it's obviously dark in the sense that it's about digging into your wounds, and obviously the content is tough, but it's actually groovy.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually like
it's so
I want to go to therapy.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like, it's like
it's that whole thing of the beginning of a song where it's got the great groove, the bass line and all that.
It's the bass.
The bass, it's always the bass way.
Tracy, by the way, loves bass. I never mentioned Tracy. Hello, Tracy.
Tracy presented
100 episodes.
100 episode.
Yeah.
And she go on.
Yeah.
You were going to say it.
She's doing 300, yeah? Yeah, she's doing episode 300, so she is. So.
But I think that, like, that song, Digging in the Dirt, and it starts off like Something in Me Dark and Sticky, and it's so It is dark, and the mood of the music is quite dark. But then when it gets to the chorus, like "Stay with me, I need support." Like, I'm digging in the dirt. Stay with me, I need support. It's lighter. It's that kind of idea of
it's hopeful.
Yeah, hopeful of as if he's reaching out to someone and he realizes I'm going through this, but I need you to get me through it. I think it's lovely,
Yeah, you come away thinking he's going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly, and he was.
He was okay. He was so okay.
That's how he did all right for himself. But
he obviously he's single now? Is he? Or
I'd say I think he might be married again. I think he did. He had he went out with a few well-known people around of a certain vintage back in the 90s. But I think he settled down then. Yeah, he settled down. But he
doesn't need it anyway. His music.
No, he's all right. He's doing all right. But he's oh, look, he's one of those ones that just...
But thank you for sharing him with me, because I always love, finding new music, even when it is old music. It's like, for you, the Beatles, you didn't discover the Beatles. Obviously, in the 60s, you weren't born yet. So it was what? You were a teenager, I think, wasn't it? You were like...
I was, I think I was 13. My mom had the best of blue, 67 to 70. And my dad had the red one, was 63 to 66.
Oh my God.
And I had and it fits perfectly for the two of them, because I reckon that my dad would be someone who'd like the earlier stuff better and my mom would like the later stuff.
Okay.
And that's why they separated. I'm only joking. but I think to have those two, within reach. I probably do a little bit, yeah. But I do.
My favorite album is Sgt. Pepper's.
Is it?
Yeah.
Why is that? Just...
Because it's their newer stuff and it's experimental. I don't like their older stuff like that as much, but
I can get that.
I appreciate it, but it's they're not who they're meant to be just yet.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think because there's a lot of covers they did as well at the time.
They're not damaged enough yet.
That's another thing. They're not damaged enough. But I think their earlier stuff turns out to be, for me, more influential. And I know it sounds silly, really, because I think their later stuff is more experimental and stuff, and it's there's a bit more to it. But you can set up
time,
but you can set up a band and play "Love Me Do" really quickly, or "From Me to You," or all those songs, "The Hard Day's Night," and you can turn that, whatever you would call it then, pop to rock or whatever. You could turn it into punk and thrash and all that kind of stuff, and you can't do that with like Sgt. Pepper's. It's kind of it's its own thing. It can't be messed.
Completely. Yeah, no, I get that point completely.
But like I'm with you. Like Revolver's my favorite album.
Revolver is your favorite. Yeah. It's a great album.
But then, like, when you were over here the last time, you had a
my brother's favorite album is
Abbey Road.
Abbey Road, yes.
That's
another
mad.
great album.
That's another one though. That's the last one. The last album that they made that went back to the idea of not having all the experimental stuff,
not being so experimental, and kind of paring it back, isn't it?
And it's amazing,
beautiful,
it's so good, and probably split them up, that idea of doing things.
Why did they split?
Well, George definitely didn't want it, because George wanted to have some more songs, and he didn't just want 2 per album. He was writing "Here Comes the Sun" and something. And they weren't letting him put more than 2 songs on an album. I can understand why he wanted to.
Yeah.
And John and Paul were kind of fed up with each other as well, I think.
Yeah.
Ringo would have stayed in there for another while.
He would have kept going.
He played on a few of John's solos and a few of George's solo albums.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was always knocking around.
I never got into the solo albums territory.
I think you should listen to Plastic Ono Band. That one in particular, the one I was talking about, John's first solo.
Okay.
And George for solo, All Things Must Pass.
I'll feedback next week.
Check in next week.
Continued.
Yeah. But thanks for talking about the Beatles with me. It's always fun.
Very welcome. It's a joy to talk about them. But I suppose the questions about like your aspirations for the podcast that we briefly kind of talked about. I suppose I had asked you on the first shitty recording. If you wanted to kind of move around to guests, or like have more guests here in person, or what are your aspirations? It's hard for the podcast, but you were saying that it's practically quite difficult to do that on a It's just practically, it's harder to be in person if you're
I think I said this in the last one, but if I'm having a bad day, it's easier for me to have a bad day, get on camera for an hour and,
go back to
and then go back.
Day, yeah.
It's more of a thing outside of it, especially if I have to go travel to somebody, excuse me, it might be that kind of, it's just too long of a day and I don't want to be in bad form during the recording.
Yeah, you have to look after yourself.
Yeah. And to bring them over here, it's good as well. But it's also, it's the same kind of thing, I suppose. Like you kind of have to put on a bit of an act sometimes because
of course you do.
If I never met someone, it's different with you, it's grand. But if I hadn't met someone before, because they've done it and they've come over, it's a bit daunting as well.
At the beginning of the podcast, you did a little bit of that, and then it kind of moved online. Yeah,
it moved online after COVID. Yeah,
and then you didn't really have anybody here in person, bar like your close friends. Was it, or did you have any guests?
No, I think after probably shortly after your one. Or sorry, shortly before your one was the last of the guests. Because
so like 2020.
Yeah. So we do like the one I do with Josh. We do it here, but it's Josh, so it's grand. But it's a bit harder to have people over because I'd be stressing out about stuff like God, about like
you have a lot of additional stuff to think about.
Yeah,
like the greeting and cups of tea and all that.
Cups of tea and like.
Place has to be comfortable, and
it does. And I always have to. You listen to Josh's podcast, but I'm always like telling them to get closer to the mic.
By the way,
oh, thank you very much. Look, you worked. But I'm always like, will you get closer? But he does this. He's your grandma. You are. He starts drifting over here, and I'm like, will you get closer to the mic?
Oh, really? Yeah. I've not done that.
No, you're just too far. But I think it's just a bit like the aspirations. Apart from that, it's just to keep getting interest in people and
keep going,
being continually surprised. I text someone this morning, I won't say their name just in case they pull out, but just to ask what they do, and they're like, yeah, no, that sounds good. I'm always surprised that someone says yes. And that's my own insecurities, but
like you've had such good guests on now. I know we didn't really go into the guests that much. Is there anyone you would like to highlight that has been on that was like amazing for you? Like, would you get Rick Rubin on? Because I really want that to happen. I've ordered his book, The Creative.
Yeah. I saw it in Dublin. No, I saw it in Dublin. It's so beautiful.
I've ordered it, so I'm waiting for that. So
it's got the proper excited. Have you seen the cover?
Not yet.
It's not like like a shiny cover. It's a
piece of art.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. But Rick Rubin, my mom texted me this morning to get Cillian Murphy, and I was like, okay, slow down a bit for a start.
Oh,
but also you cannot get a hold of Cillian Murphy.
Oh, have you tried?
Yeah, because he's not on social media, and unless you want to go through his agent, and I don't. I wouldn't, but he'd be an amazing guest to have on.
Wow.
I know he does a lot of charity stuff as well, so maybe he would do something for mental health, but
he'd love it. 100%, he'd be up for it.
He's going to win an Oscar next year. He's not going to.
There now with that, yeah.
He's too busy. Well, this year he's too busy. He's going to be campaigning for his Oscar for Oppenheimer, so I don't think this year's ideal. But I would love to get him. Rick Rubin would be an amazing guest to have.
Yeah.
But it's because people ask me who would you like to have on, and then it's like there's two different answers to that. There's who would I like to have on in Fantasyland? Do you know what I mean? Like Paul McCartney, or who would you like to have on? Like who's actually
realistic?
Yeah, realistic to get on. But
so Paul McCartney, like is Fantasyland, like as in, is that actually how you see it? Like as in,
you're not going to get Paul McCartney on a podcast.
Yeah, no, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Like
these are fantasy guests, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then
there's guests that are possible, but are not a long shot, but a little bit tougher to get.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I'd love to get Emma DeBerry on, or these authors that I've read, but I've tried to get in contact with them, and they're hard to get a hold of.
Difficult.
Yeah.
You've got some good ones coming up, though, don't you?
Oh, I always have some good ones coming up. Don't you worry about that. I know I do. Honestly, I
actually do though.
Actually, I was gonna, because we're recording this, not to break the actual, but this isn't live. But I'm recording this before 198 and 199, and I think I was going to do something on 199.
Devouring my champagne. It's not.
Do you want some more?
You don't like yours at all?
I do, yeah. It's just I just don't want to burp on this. I don't want to burp on this microphone. But on 199, I was going to do like like a solo one, but then I was like, you fire out these invitations to people and then someone gets back to you, or no one get back to you for like a couple of weeks and you're like, well, I better do a solo one. And just as you're about to do it, 5 people reply, which is great, obviously, but it just, you never quite know.
Okay.
But the good thing is that the positive feedback from yourself, from my mom, from my dad, from other people who really like the solo ones, that gives you a little bit of a boost that they're not just, oh God, they're not going to have a guest this week. So,
well, I feel like it's part of the craft. It's part of why people like the podcast. It's part of the art.
That's part of the art, yeah.
Because we're hearing from you. Yeah.
And I have to be a little bit creative, I guess, but on the ideas, although I am stealing your idea, the 41 movies, 41 years.
Oh yeah, are you doing the movies?
I've already looked into it, I haven't started writing them out yet, but I was looking into it. I looked into like 82 year I was born. I was like, that was a great year, and I would have thought it would be terrible. There's loads of them, because the 80s is not my favourite decade for films, to be honest. But it turns out there's actually quite a number of really, like, not the big blockbusters. So have
you started on that already?
I just looked yesterday, I looked at 82,
yeah.
And I was like, maybe this will be worth doing.
Yeah, 100%.
It'll be a lot of work.
It will. It'll be fun.
It'll be great fun. I'm reading a couple of books at the moment. Once I finish those, I'll get into it.
Yeah.
And I'll finish it quickly.
But it's a lot of work, Derek.
It's a lot of work.
And you're working very hard at it.
Yeah, I'm working hard at it.
And well done. Well,
thank you very much.
Done.
We got there. 200. Yeah. That's good going, isn't it?
It is.
Because I try and think of it in the terms of like 200 is a big number, but it's like 200 weeks in a row.
Every single week.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, that's the most consistent I've been in anything in my life. You know? I haven't had a relationship as long as that. That's the truth, though. Like, that's 200 weeks is like what? Coming up to like 4 years, it's not like,
Is it?
Well, yeah, isn't it? Is it not 200? How many weeks in a year? 52 weeks in a year. So we're eight episodes off 4 years. Like, that's a long time. Going back to like chatting to people before COVID. Tracy was one of the guests. Did Tracy come here? I think she might have come here.
She would have, I think.
She would have, yeah.
She said that she was here, yeah.
Yeah, so Tracy's been on 3 times. Now, this is your 3rd time on. This is your hat trick. Yeah. There's not many people who fit the hat trick, but it's I sometimes have to remind myself that it is an achievement of doing it something that consistently for that long. I think that's...
It really is, but you're incredibly consistent in a lot of the things that you do, like in your work as well. Mm-hmm. Your aspirations in running fucking marathons, there's the crack, like, what that's like, fair play to you, like.
Well, yeah.
I know you're not doing high drops anymore because I actually didn't know what that was.
No,
still don't know what it is.
Don't waste your time.
It's very confusing.
It's a shambles is what it is.
Just sounds like a very strange event, like, doesn't it? Like going to this place and then everybody
stupid, it's stupid.
There's no medals or anything like that to it, or
they did send out a message or an email or something. Somebody asked them why didn't they have. Apparently they give out patches. I don't know what do I want a patch for, but they said they give out patches and they're very sorry they didn't have any of the Dublin event, but they'll send them out.
Okay.
I refused to send my name off to them to give me a patch. I don't want your patches, all right?
Did you complain? Or?
No, they gave me too many penalties. God, the amount of penalties they gave me. I was like, you're organised. I found out afterwards a leak in the roof. I'm going to get going. There was a leak in the roof that was dripping down on the part where you push and pull the sled, right? So you're pushing 152 kg, and the thing, the AstroTurf is pushing back against it because it's wet. It's making it harder to go at. So I was wondering, this is more than 152 kg. I was trying to push against it. I smashed my elbow off the ground because I slipped. Oh, I was livid. I'm not getting into it, man.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't mean anything to me, though. But
but marathons,
more fun.
Sound much more rewarding. Your friend Keane, is it?
Keane, yes.
Who's a great supporter.
He is. He's a good lad.
Your physical kind of side of things.
He comes along.
Do you think you'll do that again? Another marathon? Or? No.
I the build up is too much. It's too. It's way better than IROX because it's quiet. It's out on the road. You know what I mean? It's not just music and that. But I just don't like the build up to anything that's, even if it's not competitive for me, it's competitive for the people around me.
Yeah.
And I just don't react well to that kind of environment. I did the two half marathons, really enjoyed them. way more tiring than the high rocks, actually, way more.
Oh.
But no, I've done enough. I've done it now. 2 of those. I've done the high rocks. I toyed with the idea of a jiu-jitsu competition. No chance of me doing that. And so now I'm retired.
You don't want to do a jiu-jitsu competition?
Never.
But you like jiu-jitsu, don't you?
Oh yeah, but no, it's just a bit of fun. It's a hobby, you know.
Oh, it's a fun thing.
Yeah,
okay.
It should never be.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm too old for this. Like, I'm honestly 41 years of age, going someone trying to drag the head off you. No, I do it in training because everybody's chilled out. You know, we're being technical. I've seen competitions, gone to support the lads in competitions, and it's way more aggressive. You know, and then you're thinking. Me and Josh talked about this the other day. Like, what are we doing? We're in a hall in Dublin fighting for a medal that we don't care about. You know, we don't care about. It's going to hang up there. I don't even remember that medal's there. You know, It's meaningless when you get to a certain age. When you're 18, I can understand why it means an awful lot. You know, that kind of the rush.
It's great actually for youth.
It is
mental health as well. And
it's brilliant for that.
Self-esteem
and confidence and a little boost the ego. And the medals mean something to you then. But I can never. There's another thing to it because you have to train at a certain intensity. So if I do 2 classes of CrossFit and then jiu-jitsu straight after, which I do, I can't train at that intensity that I need to do to go into a match then and compete at that intensity.
Okay.
So no, I'm very happy to train at things now. Not when we put myself in these stressful situations, you know.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. You know?
Yeah.
Does that answer that?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be aggressive with the high rocks.
You just got a bit angry.
It pissed me off so much. You should have seen me. I said to you, I said that my mum, she had to listen to me for half an hour, she sat there.
It sounded awful.
It was shocking.
Fair play to you for getting through it.
If it was just
a very strange thing to do, I still don't understand what it's all about. But
Joanne, if I did that in the hall on my own, empty,
yeah,
I'd love it.
All right.
I like the exercise part of it.
Okay.
It was the shambles.
But there was people with their tops off.
People with their tops off, of course, you have to have that. But
all that sort of stuff, yeah.
They said the one they did in Malaga was so much better organised than the one in Dublin, which is no surprise to me, you know.
Oh, and that was the one that you were going to go to, but you didn't go to
rib,
it. Yeah, you broke your rib. Yeah. Did you break your rib?
I did in jiu-jitsu, yeah.
Did you actually?
A few weeks before it, yeah.
Jesus.
Someone landed on it, big lad, yeah.
Oh.
No, it was an accident, obviously, you know. Tried to do it.
It's all right now, is it?
It's grand now. Back to my best. Back to my moan and best. I just had to do one. The fact that I missed the one in Malaga, I felt I had to do one at that point because I wasn't going to be the guy that pulled out, you know, just because.
Yeah. And I think that's a really lovely quality about you. You don't give up, you know, you'll keep going at it again, even if it's, you know, you'll do it anyway. It's like, you know, even the movie festival that you were at, it was a real challenge for you, wasn't it? Mentally, for your mental health, and you did it anyway, as difficult as it was. And then you fucking talked about it on a podcast. It's incredible. So
did I talk that on a podcast?
Did you? I think or on social media anyway.
Oh, yeah. Because my mom was like, no, don't do that. And I was like,
you did it live, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, because the whole point, and I said, if I have a podcast and I don't talk about my own poor mental health, there's no point in having the podcast.
So important,
Yeah. So
which is why I wanted to say today, re-recording this, to be honest, I fucked it up because I freaked out, you know what I mean?
You didn't though.
People do,
I understand though, yeah.
But people do associate, especially therapists, as people who don't struggle with mental health issues. They've got all their shit together, and they absolutely don't.
Yeah.
If anything, we're probably, you know, the reason we're therapists is because we never had our shit together.
Yeah. You're like comedians, yeah.
And we try to help other people get their shit together, but we don't have our shit together, and nobody does, right? So
no, but
it's important to be vulnerable about it, though.
Yeah.
And name it, and that's the bravery, and that's the magic.
But isn't that whole thing when I went to therapists before, and when I knew a therapist I was going to see had been through their own issues, that I found it easier to talk to them because I felt it wasn't just like this clinical, you know, guy just sitting there taking notes. There was something deeper to it. And I understand, I had someone on recently enough, and they said, as long as you don't get into the other side of where it becomes they're caring for you, you know, and that's understandable.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really important point to make as a therapist, because it's really important that the sessions are always about your client, but it is also really appropriate and actually necessary to share some of your own stuff so that they know that you're human.
Exactly.
A robot who wants to talk to a robot about their issues.
And I have, unfortunately, and it's immediate. It turns you off immediately. You immediately shut down yourself. You know, you can't help it. But when like Nick was on and talking about that, like he's obviously someone who will come out and talk on podcasts about his own challenges, but he's still, you know, savvy enough to be able to kind of maintain the, you know, the therapist client, you know, boundaries as well, which
relationship.
Yeah, and I'm sure that takes a certain amount of skill in itself to do, but at the same time, good on him for being honest with the client, because I think, like I said, I've been through to some terrible therapists, and I've been to some amazing ones, but the connection, there has to be connection there, or else it's you know, there's no point, like.
Absolutely. You know? And you feel that straight away when you meet your client for the first time. It's, you know, you can feel that energy in the room, whether it's going to work or not. And generally speaking, you know, it does. But if it doesn't, it's really important that you name it, and then they can move on to somebody else, because ultimately it's about finding their person, right?
Yeah.
You might not be their person. But and then I think that was kind of, how long are we talking for now?
I have no idea. Because we didn't
on a spiel.
We didn't time it, so I don't know. I would say it's a while.
I just had you know, a favorite quote about creativity, or like a line of music or something that you love.
You know, my favorite quote is by a guy, and I can't pronounce his surname, and I never get his surname right when I try to pronounce it anyways. And it's just smell the flowers while you can.
Oh.
And he passed away because of AIDS complications. So he was an activist for AIDS, and his name is David. So I'm not going to spell it either, but it's WOJ. So if you Google it from there, it's a Polish name. I'm pretty sure he's American, but I remember seeing it on a YouTube video, not a video, a live concert on DVD or video, whatever it was at the time. And it was at the end of one. They played one, and it came up on screen. Yeah, just no, U2. You know, U2's one.
Oh, U2's one. Sorry.
And it came up that, and I think he had just passed away around that time.
Oh.
And I just remember it hitting me at the end. Maybe it was the end of that song or whatever. But that's a pretty, you know, good.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. To make the most of the moment.
Yeah.
To live in the moment.
I mean, you can't really, you know. What was the other one that I really like as well, though?
John Lennon has one.
John Lennon, yeah. What's that one?
It doesn't. Creativity. It doesn't come through if the air is cluttered.
That's good.
I like that.
I've never heard that
because you know, when you're restricted, anything creative needs space. You need to feel safe in order to create, right? We understand that. If you feel self-conscious, that's why I fucked up the podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not going to flow. You're not going to be able to create. That's kind of what
that's great
saying, isn't it beautiful?
That's great. I think
you're supposed to know that one now off by heart.
I should know that one. I know his lyrics. I don't know his quotes.
What's his famous one about dreams?
I'm just thinking of the other one about.
You don't know any of them.
Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know his quotes. I know his lyrics. I don't know his quotes.
Most important thing.
John Keats. I think beauty is a joy forever. That's a great one, because that can apply to obviously anything, but in particularly art.
Yeah.
You know, because I think people, the idea of art as something, say if we have something by Kieran up here. So if we have,
Kieran.
Yeah, shout out to Kieran Island. But if I had something up there that, if it's beautiful to me, it's never going to be boring. You know, sometimes it's never going to be the same thing. It's going to be something different every time I look at it. So I think a beauty is a joy forever. I really like that one too.
Yeah, it changes.
And do you know how I first heard that? In the movie White Men Can't Jump. One of the characters at the start says it, and I never understood, because he says it, and then he said that's by my man John Keats, and I couldn't understand what he's saying until I Googled it, the lyric or the script for the film, and I figured out what he was saying, and then I learned. he was saying by my man John Keats.
Yeah. You do a lot of digging, I'd say.
I do a bit of digging now and again. I do like Google.
A lot of our time there writing lists.
I do like it. I do enjoy it. Lists are very important.
Because I remember when I was first on, obviously I didn't know you at the time.
Yeah.
And you asked me like my favorite painting and my favorite song. And I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to answer this question?
Yeah, I know,
like, terrible. But you have lists ready in your brain all of the time, ready to go.
Raring to go. That's
a bit crazy, really.
It's crazy, yeah. But it's always been there, but I think it's refined since the podcast because I'm always on my toes.
It's beautiful quality. It's your level of intellect as well, I think, and again why you're so good at the podcast, because you're able to retain an awful lot of information all of the time about a lot of different subjects. Like you're reading like 4 books or something, are you?
Yeah, just too many at the moment, I think, but I prefer just 2. If you can get 2 on the go. Yeah. Non-fiction, 1 fiction, 1 non-fiction.
Oh yeah, that's nice. I can do that.
Yeah, that's a great way of doing it.
Can't do any more than that.
I could do 1 fiction, 2 non-fiction, but I can never do 2 fiction because then they just get messed up with the characters and stuff.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
it's too much.
Yeah.
But if I couldn't do 2 non-fiction about art, I'd have to do
completely different.
Yeah, art or true crime or whatever. I don't know why I picked that as an example. But
what are you reading at the moment?
I'm actually reading a book by a friend of mine who might be on the podcast in the future, who's been on the podcast before. Yes. I'm reading What by Samuel Beckett, and I'm reading Ian Winwood's book about it's his biography, but he's a music journalist, but it's about the interviews he's done with musicians in the past, which is really good as well. It's really a fascinating book. And I'm, because of the guest I was talking with there earlier on, I'm going to have to maybe read it. No, this is down the line. I'm going to have to read a couple of other books by that person before they come on. So
to get it all in there.
Get it all in there.
Do you sleep at all?
I sleep a little bit. I get 6 hours. 6 hours is good for everyone.
Is it?
Do you know how much? How many?
Minimum 8.
That's not.
I love sleep.
Yeah, but 10. You can't. Not on your day. But not on the day that you're working, though.
Jesus, yeah, I'll be in bed at 11 o'clock.
Oh, but you're working in the afternoon then?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you work in the afternoon. Sorry, yeah. That's fair enough.
Usually like finish at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's different. I was trying to figure out what time you go to bed and what time you get up.
Yeah, therapist hours are weird.
But 10 hours is excessive amount of sleep. I know. But how do you love it if you're not?
It's the best.
But you're just there. Like, I don't like.
What?
You're not even aware.
In your entire consciousness.
Yeah, but for 10 hours, that's.
Yeah, you need it.
You can oversleep, can't you?
Oh, you can.
Oh, I think you can. I think you burn out your REM or whatever it's called. I think
totally made that up.
I just made it up in the spot. But I think I think what I understand you obviously need sleep to help you, but I do prefer not being like, I told you about this, did I? Or was it someone else was talking about? I don't like going to bed.
Oh. I
don't like being in bed unless I fall asleep like that. The anxiety starts because these thoughts stop it. Like when things start popping in your head.
Yeah.
So I hate it. So as soon as I wake up, I want to be out of it. Even though I've woke up and I've had my sleep, I think, well, if I lie here, it's just going to start again.
Okay.
So I get up really early. But then it does give me time in the morning then to read stuff, because when you read in the morning, I think it just goes in, it stays in.
What about reading at nighttime?
No.
Does that not help you to relax down?
No, music, a bit more.
Music, okay.
Yeah, a little bit more. I think if I was reading, I'd probably read till about 7 or 8, and then that'd be enough. Yeah, and then it's just a bit of music just to.
And then you're not looking forward to bed.
No, I hate going to bed. I have since I had the real bad mental health problems. I've always I used to have the light on for a while because the therapist said, you can, when you open your eyes and the light's on, you can at least focus on something, even if it's the corner of a room or the
you can always look at something.
Yeah, there's something there. But if you open your eyes in the pitch black, there's nothing to focus on, so it's just the thoughts in your head again. Now, I did that for about 5 years, and now I don't have to do it anymore.
Do you ever journal?
Not really. If I was really
a recommendation for you as an art therapist and friend, journaling and literally.
I know I'm really bad because Josh literally gives tips about journaling on his podcast every time, and I'm sitting here listening to him.
Do you have a journal?
I've got
not your.
No, I've got
collection, but
I've got loads of them, loads of
just shit. thoughts. Like, for example, I have my morning pages every morning.
Oh yeah.
So when I wake up in the morning, I wake up and I do three because I'm anxious in the morning.
Yeah,
when
of course,
I wake up by the day ahead. So I do 3 pages of just shit, whatever. First thing, don't think about it. It could be absolute,
Yeah, whatever comes out, like yeah.
And then just get on with my day, and it really helps me. But some people do them before bed so that they can clear their mind, or if they wake up in the middle of the night, maybe. It's not for everybody.
No, I know, yeah. But I said it to them before that I do it, and just to see how I get on. And I should really do it, just to, even if it was painting, that's something I should be doing.
In the middle of the night.
I think I'd like that, that.
Yeah. Creating to music is a really beautiful thing.
It is.
That you would connect with because you love music so much.
I used to write to music a lot, but it tend to be more instrumental things.
Classical music.
Kind of, because you can't listen to someone like Bob Dylan or something because it's just the words.
I know, and then you start thinking about it.
Yeah,
I'm the same.
You go too into it, and then you start just copying them.
Yeah, I started just writing it down.
Writing down Dylan's work.
Document.
This is great. I'm not plugging up my earphones. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, but I think that's it.
Is that it?
We'll be talking for like hours now, but I feel better now because at least I asked you questions, because I genuinely didn't ask you anything, Derek, the last day. So I think I've asked you.
Well, you know what you have to do. You know how the closeout is.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I have to do a closeout first because it's important. I want to thank, obviously, Joanne's going to do the real one, but I want to thank everybody for listening, for getting me through all these 200 episodes, and all the guests who've gone before, and all the people who have sent messages, even the one who said he's not listening anymore because they had to go with Donald Trump. Even that guy, thank you very much. And obviously to our excellent host today, Joanne, for coming on.
Podcast expert.
It's
my new profession.
Well, honestly, giving up your time for this, earlier hours for podcasting, but giving up your time on a Saturday evening.
Sleep.
I appreciate, 10 hours. I appreciate an awful lot, and now you can take it away.
Thank you to Calvin.
Yes.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
Not Josh.
No, never Josh. No.
I think I did that the last time. Oh, Jer.
Yeah.
And John, obviously.
Yes. And my ma'am and my
dad.
Yeah. And my go higher again.
Granddad.
There you go.
Oh yeah, who's the granddad?
Pat's a little Pat's
lovely man, is he?
Pat's not. Oh, he's a very nice man. 96 years of age. Watches this on his iPad.
Is he actually 96?
Yeah, he's a legend. He is. He's the best. He is. But yeah,
you've got a good crew of people around you, and rightly so, Derek.
That's it. Look, and
congratulations on 200 episodes.
Thank you very much. And if you haven't,
the next 100.
Yeah. And when Tracy's coming on. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed by now to YouTube, what are you doing? Subscribe to YouTube. We're on Spotify, Apple, Anchor. We're on Instagram, obviously. You can actually follow Joanne on Instagram as well if you want some art therapy. Some great
funny videos.
Yeah, some very good stories. And but inspirational stuff as well. That's important. Twitter and all that stuff. But listen, thanks everyone, like I said, for watching today and tuning in today. And hello if you're watching because Joanne was hosting, and I hope you appreciate the brilliant job she did. All right.
Thank you.
We did it. We we nearly drank our
good night.
Yes, good night. And take care. All right. Hold on, I'll find the button. Right, we're out. Bye.